Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm not responding to someone with a bad take about a game, but about a movie, the 2022 Batman movie to be specific. I'm looking at Ben Shapiro's review on the movie, and it's pretty bad. He makes some questionable criticisms, to say the least. But without further ado, let's get into it.
So last night I went and saw The Batman, went and saw it with my wife. It is 1 million hours long. And it's one of those movies where I started off and I was like, okay. And then I got a little further in, and I was like, all right. And then I got to the end, I was like, meh. And then the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. And so you're about to hear a lot of hot takes on The Batman because I hate this movie. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to tell you right up front, spoilers. Spoilers aplenty here. So if you haven't seen the film yet and you want to see the film and you don't want to be spoiled, I'm warning you. You've been warned. All right, this is Detective Batman. So if the original Michael Keaton Batman was sort of crime-fighting Batman and the Christopher Nolan Batman was city-saving Batman, this Batman is supposed to be Detective Batman. And this has a long history in the Batman comics. Some of the best Batman comics, particularly my favorite, The Long Halloween, is rooted in the idea of Batman not just as Caped Crusader, but as a great detective, smarter than everybody else, capable of picking up on clues, investigating and tracking down crimes.
I want you guys to keep what he says here in mind, because he's implying that he's read Batman comics before, and later on in the video we'll see that he most likely hasn't read a single one.
I'm going to start with what's right with the film, because it's going to be real short. So what's right with the film is that it looks great. It is a film noirish take on Gotham City. It almost feels kind of like retro Taxi Driver Gotham City. So everything is very dirty. It's all taking place at night. It's shot in kind of grayscale at times. It's got a lot of warm oranges and reds, but against a very dark black. So it's a lot of muttered dialogue. It feels as though it's taking place in the same city as Joker is taking place. So if you saw Joker, Todd Phillips' Joker, which looks like 1970s New York, it feels almost like the other half of that, but it seems more like the take on what future New York would look like if you were living in New York in 1970. That's sort of a good way of putting it. The music to the film is okay. I think that Michael Giacchino tends to be a little bit derivative in how he does the scores to the films. This one, he basically takes the music that Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard wrote for Batman Begins in the Nolan trilogy, which the theme goes da-da, and here he just inverts it. So instead of da-da, it's da-da. Okay, fine. So it's a little bit derivative, but the score is totally fine.
Well, at least there's something we can agree on. The movie looks great. There's no point in addressing your thing about the music, because music is like one of the most subjective things you can ever talk about.
The acting is okay, as we'll find out in a second. They give Robert Pattinson nothing to do as Batman. Nothing to do as Batman.
Saying that Robert Pattinson has nothing to do as Batman in this movie is an interesting take, considering how much of an active player Batman is in this movie. But I'm sure we'll get to his fantastic criticism of the portrayal of Batman in this movie.
I didn't think that Zoe Kravitz had any sort of chemistry with Robert Pattinson. So she's fine. She's kind of flirty. Meh. I didn't see anything particularly wrong with her performance. I just didn't see a lot right with her performance. You have John Turturro showing up as Carmine Falcone, and he is John Turturro. So he's okay. He's somewhat menacing. The best performance in the film is Colin Farrell playing the Penguin. You literally cannot spot Colin Farrell in this makeup. There is no way that you can see Colin Farrell here. The whole movie, I'm staring at him going, that's not Colin. It is Colin Farrell. It's the best performance in the movie. Paul Dano.
Hey, there's two things we can agree on. His performance in the movie as the Penguin is probably the best one in the movie. Not off to a bad start. I'm sure we'll keep this positive momentum going.
Gives a good performance in the film, although he's sort of playing the Joker a little bit, although he's playing it more wide-eyed, as Paul Dano is apt to do. The main character of the film is the Riddler, and herein lies the main problem.
Could have fooled me.
With the film. The biggest problem with the film is that the film hates Batman. Like the actual Batman character hates the Batman character. And this drives me up an absolute wall. The biggest problem with the film is not the wokeness. Yes, there's some woke touches. You have Catwoman, who is a woman of color, who is, of course, good. And you have the black female mayor, who is good. And you have the black Jim Gordon, who is good. Every white character is apparently bad, like all of them. Fine.
Okay, how does the film hate Batman? And more importantly, why is it the fact that there were like why is it the fact that there were three good black people in the movie a problem. And you say that there's not a good white person in the movie when the main character, Batman, is a white male. I have to question your criticism here.
And whatever, I don't really care about that. That's fine. You have Catwoman say stuff about white privileged elites, and she makes a suggestion that Bruce Wayne as a child, when his parents were killed, he doesn't really have a right to be super upset about that because, of course, he was very, very rich. That doesn't, kind of rings hollow.
She says white privileged elites because due to her past experiences, like Carmine Falcone, her father. And when did she say Bruce shouldn't be as upset or sad about his parents dying when he was a child? Please feel free to show me a clip of that.
Now, a lot of these lines seem like throwaways for film lefty Twitter, but the main theme is not a throwaway. The main theme is what matters here. The film despises Batman. So every Batman iteration has to explain why a man who is a billionaire would dress up like a bat and go around beating up criminals. It's not answered. And the director doesn't know. And the writer doesn't know. And this is the problem.
Except for the fact that it is answered in the movie.
You lied to me. My whole life. I spoke to Carmine Falcone. He told me what he did for my father. About Salvatore Moroni.
He told you Salvatore Moroni?
And my father killed. Why didn't you tell me all this? All these years I've spent fighting for him, believing that he was a good man.
He was a good man. Listen to me. Your father was a good man. He made a mistake.
A mistake? Get a man killed. Why? To protect his family image. His political aspirations.
It wasn't to protect the family image, and he didn't have anyone killed. He was protecting your mother. He didn't care about his image or the campaign, any of that. He cared about her and you. And in a moment of weakness, he turned to Falcone. But he never thought Falcone would kill that man. Your father should have known that Falcone would do anything to finally have something on him that he could use. That's who Falcone is. And that was your father's mistake.
I'm starting to see now. I have had an effect here. But not the one I intended. Vengeance won't change the past. Mine or anyone else's. I have to become more. People need hope. To know someone's out there for them. The city's angry. Scarred. Like me. Our scars can destroy us. Even after the physical wounds have healed. But if we survive them, they can transform us. They can give us the power to endure and the strength to fight.
So in the Nolan films, to take the contrast, the question as to why Batman does this is because if Batman does not actually intimidate the criminal underworld because the city is so corrupt, no one else will do it, and money isn't going to solve the problem. And so he needs to create a theatrical kind of fear in order to dissuade the criminal underworld from participating. And then, as it turns out, he also has to save the city itself and demonstrate his faith in the city by becoming a symbol. Here, you don't really know why Batman is doing what he's doing. It's never explained. He's very wealthy. He doesn't apparently do anything with his wealth. He doesn't try to give charity. He doesn't. I mean, this is actually made a plot point. He's a bad man because he's white. He's a bad white man who doesn't actually give charity.
except for the fact that Batman literally does have money going into the city through the renewal fund, and from his perspective, it's not accomplishing anything. We'll find out later that Falcone and Maroni were using it to launder money, but at that point in the movie, he didn't know about that. So, from his perspective, just throwing money at the problem didn't do anything. It didn't solve any of the problems. And if anything, since we find out that Falcone was using it to launder money, it only made them worse. So yeah, just throwing money at the problem won't fix it, and Bruce knows that.
He's not involved, and he's not playing that as a role. Again, this is part of the problem, is that Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same character. So I keep using the Nolan comparison because it is the gold standard for all superhero movies, not just Batman movies. So when you look at Nolan's Batman, Bruce Wayne is the character that Batman is playing. Okay, Bruce Wayne is not real. Batman is real. Batman is who Bruce Wayne really is. And so he has to play a fop. In Batman Begins, he's squiring around ladies in his Lamborghini, and he's buying hotels, and he's doing all of this just to cover up for the fact that he is Batman. So you get very separate Batman and Bruce Wayne. You get the same thing actually with Michael Keaton. Batman and Bruce Wayne are two different characters. Here, Batman and Bruce Wayne are the exact same character. There are points where Bruce Wayne is walking around. He's got the same dour expression, same glazed look, same kind of emo thing going on as Batman does the entire movie.
Bruce not caring about his public image as Bruce Wayne isn't an uncommon thing for Batman media to tackle. Like in the comic Batman Zero Year, he wanted to leave it so that way people just thought Bruce Wayne was dead, and he didn't want to make it public that he wasn't, because he wanted to dedicate all of his time to being Batman. Kind of like how in this movie, Bruce is dedicating all of his time into being Batman.
So here's the actual plot of the film. Batman has only been Batman for a couple of years, so he's not really good at Batmaning yet. And he is tracking down criminals, and he gets drawn into a plot by the Riddler. The Riddler is giving clues so that Batman can track down all the way through the system of Gotham this citywide corruption that apparently is going to bring down the entire superstructure of faith in the city. Meanwhile, you have Catwoman, who's Selena Kyle, played by Zoe Kravitz. And Zoe Kravitz is similarly engaged in an attempt to commit a robbery against one of these underworld figures, but she's drawn into Batman's orbit by a murder that both of them are investigating at the same time, the murder of her roommate, maybe something more going on there. The Riddler is the main villain of the movie. You see the Penguin a fair bit. Carmine Falcone is one of the big characters in the movie. You get a little bit of Alfred. Of course, you get Jim Gordon, whose main job in this film is apparently just to say Jesus over and over again.
Christ, it's Coulson.
Whenever something bad happens, he just goes, Jesus. And that happens like 6 times. Like Jim Gordon does nothing except for basically stop Batman from getting arrested a lot.
So Jim Gordon does nothing except for when he's helping Batman. Okay.
That's pretty much all he does. He's a bad detective. He doesn't do anything. The plot is that all these people get killed. Batman uncovers it. He realizes that his dad was corrupt also, or that his dad engaged in corruption with Carmine Falcone. Finally, we get to the end. Paul Dano does it's such a ripoff of Seven. He gives himself up. He doesn't get captured by Batman. Batman does not prevent a single one of these deaths.
Batman doesn't prevent a single death in this movie. Did you watch the movie? Genuine question.
Batman, in fact, is complicit in one of the deaths by accident. And he doesn't actually capture the Riddler because he's clever. The Riddler gives himself up by sitting at a diner and getting arrested. Then he unleashes a bombing of Gotham that essentially causes the flooding of the city. And Batman goes to the Madison Square Garden, where a mayoral event is now being held for the brand new mayor, who is an uplifting black female who has no other story or backstory, so she's really uninteresting. It starts to flood. And up on top, in the wings, are a bunch of Paul Dano's followers, are a bunch of the Riddler's followers who are all dressed like the Riddler, and they are shooting down into the crowd to try and kill members of the elite in Gotham City. And so Batman goes up there and he's beating people up. There comes a point where he's beating this guy, and he's really, like, maybe beating him almost to death. And he stops, and they take off that guy's mask, and they say, "Who are you?" And the guy says, "I am vengeance." Okay, now this is the theme throughout the film. Ooh, the theme. Okay, so in order to explain why this is a problem, you have to now understand the character of the Riddler. So it says right at the beginning of the movie, "Who is Batman? I'm vengeance," right? He's just on the streets and he's beating people up.
I'm vengeance.
And then people keep calling him Mr. Vengeance for no apparent reason. Like, we don't know why they're calling him that.
Maybe because he goes around calling himself Vengeance.
Because he never actually publicly says he's vengeance. It's in his creepy diary, which again is supposed to be a mirror image of the fact that the Riddler also keeps a Zodiac Killer style diary. So they're supposed to be two halves of the same whole. Batman is beating up this follower of the Riddler's. He takes off his mask, and the guy says, "I'm vengeance." And suddenly Batman sees. Suddenly Batman realizes he can't be vengeance. That's not what he's meant to do. He's betrayed his mission. And so he then descends on an electrified cable because he's trying to stop people from being electrocuted by this flying electrical wire. And he cuts off the cable. He's holding on to it. He falls down into the water. A rebaptism. He gets up. And then he proceeds to lead a bunch of people who are not really trapped, but kind of trapped, I suppose. And he leads them to, I guess, a safer place by carrying a torch. And then he goes up to the top of Madison Square Garden, and he is helping people be airlifted and medevaced out. And this is how he has learned fulfillment.
Hold on a second. Earlier you said Batman doesn't save a single person in this movie. Yet here you are talking about how he's saving people and helping them get out of a flooded city. You contradicted yourself, sir.
So what is this movie about? This movie is about how fighting criminality does not actually help innocent people. He says this at the very beginning. He says, "I'm not sure I'm doing any good. By fighting the criminals, crime is still up." It turns out that Batman has to stop being Batman. Batman has been missing it the whole time. What Batman really has to be is Superman.
Except for the fact that later on in the movie, Batman realizes that he has had an effect on Gotham. It's just not the one he wanted. He was standing for a symbol of vengeance, and people were taking that symbol and twisting it into something bad. That's why he says that he needs to stand for something more, and people need hope at the end of the movie. How does this mean has to be Superman? I'm confused.
Batman needs to go into areas like Madison Square Garden and not fight the criminals. He needs to go and lead people with a torch to a slightly safer area. He needs to help medevac people on the top of he needs to build Habitat for Humanity. He needs to join Jimmy Carter and build houses for homeless people. That's what Batman needs to be doing.
You do realize Batman does more than just beat up criminals. He also saves people if they need help. For someone who claims you've read comics, well, at least you've implied it because you know about comics like The Long Halloween and you say it's one of your favorites, you know surprisingly little about what Batman does.
This really is a sort of attack on the idea that fighting crime helps innocent people. It's an almost defund the police attitude toward what crime is.
Oh my god, the message of the movie isn't that Batman has to give up on fighting crime, it's that he needs to stand for something other than just vengeance because of how that message can be taken and twisted. That's the entire point, that's the entire message of the movie, that Batman needs to stand for hope as well, because just standing for vengeance didn't have a good effect. Nowhere does the movie say that he has to stop fighting crime.
And it's an attack on the basic idea that individuals are capable of doing justice by finding bad guys and fighting them. Instead, apparently, individuals are only capable of doing nice things by helping little old ladies cross the street.
In no way, shape, or form does the movie imply that. You just misunderstand the movie somehow to this degree.
It's this sort of mentality that has led to New York turning into Gotham City in the last couple of years, by the way. That's a fundamental betrayal of what Batman is. What makes Batman different from the Riddler and than any of these other criminals is these criminals target innocent people and Batman targets criminals. Oh
my god. The thing that separates Batman from the criminals he fights is the fact that he has a moral code and a line that he doesn't cross. And even if I agree with you that the thing that separated Batman from the criminals is that he targeted criminals while the criminals target innocent people, once again, nowhere in the movie is it stated or even implied that Batman has to stop targeting criminals.
It's the basis of the character. The entire basis of the character is the cops are bad at targeting criminals because they're corrupt. Batman is good at targeting criminals because he's smart and because he's rich and because he's incorruptible. That's the entire basis of Batman. And they take all that and they flip it on its head because they don't like Batman. And this is why I have real problems with the movie. I kind of hate the movie. Like, the more I think about it, the more I get angry at it. Because they take the fundamental idea of what Batman is supposed to be, the protector of the innocent who targets the criminal, and they say that if he targets the criminal, this makes him no different than criminals.
I feel like a broken record here, but no, that's not what the movie is saying. It's saying that Batman has to stand for something other than vengeance because of what that message and symbol can be taken and twisted into. That's the message of the movie. Not that Batman is in the wrong for fighting crime.
Because Paul Dano, who's the Riddler, is also targeting criminals. all the way up until the very end, when they have to just sort of add on this attack on Madison Square Garden and New York Broad Writ for no reason.
The reason why Riddler is in the wrong in the movie is not because he wants to target criminals, but because he is killing them and not bringing them to justice, and then wants to bomb and flood the city because he wants to get back at the city that hurt him, since he took Batman's message of "I am vengeance" and thought that it made his actions okay, and that him and Batman were on the same side, and that they were getting back at the city that hurt them. That's the entire thing. Riddler mistook what Batman stood for. He took it and twisted it. That's the thing. That's why Batman says he needs to stand for something more, and people need hope, not just vengeance.
He has no motivation for blowing up a bunch of trucks and flooding downtown. Like, none. He doesn't explain why he does it. He doesn't explain what the purpose of it is.
The Riddler's motivation in this movie is that he wants to get back at the city that hurt him.
All the way along, he's been saying, I'm exposing the true face of Gotham. Okay, that's a rationale. But what does that have to do with blowing up the city? They add that on just so that they can create a false distinction between Batman and the Riddler so that Batman can change his mission.
Because it's a cover-up for what he actually wants to do. He's not doing it because he wants to expose the true face of Gotham. He's doing it for selfish reasons. It's just him saying that he wants to expose the true face of Gotham is just a cover-up.
So now Batman's mission is not beating up bad guys and stopping bad guys. Now Batman's mission is to be a firefighter. He's no longer a detective or a police officer. He's a firefighter.
That's not what the movie is saying, and Batman was never a police officer to begin with.
That's a betrayal, and it's a real problem. And that's my biggest issue with the film. It just feels like such a sellout. It feels like such a sellout of what Batman is supposed to be. Again, it's got a little bit of woke politics, but that's really not the problem. The problem is the broader woke orientation of the film. If the Nolan Batman was about the idea that you help innocent people by fighting criminality and provide an inspiration to people to fight criminality, if that's the idea of Batman, which it is, that's completely thrown on its head here.
The movie isn't saying that he needs to stop fighting crime. That's not what the movie is about. I'm starting to think you didn't even watch it. And as for your point about Batman inspiring others in the Nolan trilogy, what do you think him standing for hope is going to do? It's going to inspire the people of Gotham. What?
Matt Reeves, who's credited as both a director and a writer on the film, he does not like Batman, and I can't get over this. How do you give $150 million to a dude to make a movie about Batman when he clearly does not like Batman? When he thinks that Batman is bad, and that Batman has to be shown the error of his ways?
Matt Reeves doesn't hate Batman. He doesn't think Batman is a bad character. You just misunderstood the point of his movie.
And learn to be a nicer human being. By the way, at the very end of the movie, Catwoman, who at no point has actually demonstrated any sort of moral bona fides. Like, I'm not sure she does a moral thing in the entire movie. At the very end, she says to him, why don't you run away with me? And we'll go rob some hedge fund CEOs. And he doesn't say back to her, you know, that's bad to rob hedge fund CEOs. Instead, he's like, he thinks about it for a moment. She's like, no, you belong in Gotham. The generalized cheap left-wing sense.
That's not what happened. He looks up at the bat signal. Catwoman notices. And then she says that he's already spoken for. And then she goes to leave. And then Batman tells her to take care of herself.
Ability is very silly with regard to Catwoman. If I have not made clear at this point, the movie's also 8 hours long. It's like a Wagnerian ring cycle, this film. It just goes on and on and on. Every shot is composed in order to have people walk across rooms. Like, Christopher Nolan would snap that cut right to the action. If you watch Dark Knight, there is no wasted motion in that film, and it's 2.5 hours long. This is 3 hours long, and it feels like 4. I never check my watch during movies, particularly not a Batman movie, and I check my watch at least twice during this film. It's better than Marvel, because everything's better than Marvel, because Marvel doesn't take characters seriously, and Marvel feels like cotton candy. This doesn't feel like cotton candy. It just feels like a fundamental betrayal of the character, which is just, it's lazy writing, and more than that, it's not nice to the audience. The audience wants to see Batman be Batman and be good at being Batman and know why he's being Batman.
I'll concede that the movie has some pacing issues, particularly in the third act. But how isn't the... Okay, so you say that the audience wants to see Batman being Batman, which is what they get in this movie. What's the problem here? And you say they want to see him be good at being Batman when this is in his earlier years, where he is more prone to making mistakes because he's still new to the vigilante lifestyle.
They don't want to see Batman learn the lesson that being Batman is bad. That defeats the purpose of going to a Batman film.
Congratulations on misunderstanding Bruce's character arc.
Alrighty, so that is my review of The Batman. I know. A lot of people really like the movie because, hey, it's Batman. It's hard to dislike Batman. But folks, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and recommend some other movies that are coming up in the near future you'd like to see me review, or just leave a comment below and tell me how wrong I am.
Well, at least you have some self-awareness. Alright, but yeah, I know this video is a bit different than my normal ones. This is just a one-time thing. Maybe I'll do it more if you guys really like it. But yeah, his take on the Batman was just so bad that I just really wanted to respond to it. But yeah, that'll be the end of this video, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.